I remember like one of my colleagues being like, oh, what's the book you're reading about? And I was like, it's about a pandemic. And she was just like, why? Why are you doing that to yourself? Hey, my name is Bex. I am a student mental health nurse and I've been working in a psychiatric hospital throughout this COVID-19 pandemic. It's a wild time. While I was on placement at the hospital, I had a run of night shifts coming up. And typically on night shifts, like, you have a longer break, you might have more extra time. So for me, I was like, I'm gonna bring a book. I was buddying reading this with Kira from Kira Was a Diver, so I'll link her channel down below. Yeah, we chose to read this and I was like, yo, I'm gonna get some reading done while I'm on the night shift. It's just gonna be such a productive time. Now, what I didn't realize going in is that when I was gonna be reading this, I was gonna be hit with like so many parallels and similarities to my situation. Let me just explain to you a bit about what this book's plot is. So this is Blindness by Jose Saramago, and we follow a group of characters experiencing a blindness pandemic. Yikes. So, start of the book, we're following this dude and he suddenly goes blind. He goes back to his wife like, I've suddenly gone blind, and she's like, we need to go see an eye doctor. They go see an eye doctor. The eye doctor is like, bro. He doesn't say bro, but he's like, I've never seen anything like that before. It doesn't seem like your blindness has any cause. Before you know it, this man's wife is blind too. The doctor is blind too. Everyone is going blind. It's a pandemic. And the government's kind of sketchy, sudden response to this is to collect all of the blind people and just throw them into an abandoned psychiatric hospital where they have to sort of just fend for themselves. Like, these people are literally in the dark. They have been struck by blindness, they don't know how to deal with it, and suddenly they're with a group of strangers, someplace they don't know, they can't navigate, they don't know one room from the next, there's hardly any food. This is what they're dealing with. And I'm sat there reading this in a psychiatric hospital, which is not abandoned, but it is the night time, so it is quite literally dark. We try and keep it as dark as possible since people are sleeping. You know how it is. It's not typically, but can get really quiet. I sort of really like the atmosphere. If you imagine that you're someplace quite big, you know that there's so many people there, but you can't see the majority of the people. You can only see one or two other people, and it's really quiet. It's really eerie. It is a certain atmosphere, and it really was like bringing the book to life to me. You know, these characters are walking down the corridors, I'm walking down the corridors. There's also parts in this book where alarms go off, and if you've been to a hospital, you know alarms are going off. It's a really like disconcerting time. It can make you think like, what's going on? Do I need to act? Is anybody in trouble? Blah blah blah. And that sort of adrenaline is something that happens a lot in this book as well. Yeah, so I'm working in this psych ward, but not only am I working in that same like setting, the ward was also split into like COVID positive and COVID negative service users. So on some nights you would be on the COVID positive side of the ward, where really, I mean, that's the height of the pandemic, isn't it? People who all have this illness, as staff are like trying to really keep ourselves separate and safe from it in order to not catch it. And it really brings that pandemic risk of infection concern to life. And in the book, you also see how there are guards. They've got guards surrounding the hospital because basically they will shoot if any of the blind people try and escape. The plan is to just shoot them for fear of them passing on this blindness to them. So reading about that fear was really interesting. For me, there was definitely underlying anxiety when you know you're working with people who have it and you're being told every day to like avoid it. but you're right there in the middle of it. Like that was really such a strange thing for me as well. I remember like one of my colleagues being like, oh, what's the book you're reading about? And I was like, it's about a pandemic. And she was just like, why? Why are you doing that to yourself? Like, we're all scrubbed up with masks, hands raw from antibacterial hand gel. She's just like, why are you reading about pandemic? That makes no sense. And I was like, I hear you, but it wasn't a pandemic of like coughing or something, because that would hit too close to home, hit way too close to home. So yeah, I basically just thought that it was an interesting experience which I wanted to talk about when you're reading a book and the setting emulates your own setting. Like, has that ever happened to you where you're reading a book and you're like, whoa, that relates to XYZ in my life? Please, like, I'd love to hear it if something like that has happened to you. It's worth saying, I did not like this book in the end. The first 100 pages or so, really loving, you know, really vibing with it, but the rest was just a drag for me. I just thought, there's no plot in this book anymore. They're just in this hospital. Stuff sucks, like their life sucks. They've been left all alone. It's really like a helpless situation. And this book is supposed to be like allegorical, highlighting the weakness of man. Like, I don't even know. I don't really care, to be honest. This was not my jam. It's worth like also me saying that there's like really violent sexual assault scene in this, so please be mindful. For me, that left a really bad taste in my mouth, that scene, not just because it was horrible, but because I was like, what was the point? Why did you put that in? Like, was it necessary? I sort of didn't think so, but maybe someone else would have a different opinion. But yeah, I'm gonna put this book down now. That was sort of my experience. That's sort of all for this video. It was really just like a chit chat. I thought, why not? Let's have a talk. Also, like my mental health nursing studies are really the main thing going on in my life at the moment. So I was just thinking, if there's any sort of way that I could bring that to my booktube channel, then I want to do that. Otherwise, I'm sort of struggling for content because I'm not getting to read as much, or yeah, sort of plan like creative book videos. Do let me know if you have any video suggestions for me, because sometimes it's really hard to come up with things. But yeah, I really hope you're doing well, and I will see you soon.